So here we are at the charcoal making demonstration, which we do once a year. It's a lot of work, so we only do it once a year. This is a pit of wood. You can't see it now, but inside here is about a third to a half a cord of wood, maybe about a third of a cord, which we've stacked up in this kind of hemisphere. And we are covering it first with leaves. You can't see those completely. Those was called leafing the pit. And what we're doing now is dusting the pit. So we're putting a layer of dirt and leftover charcoal from previous years. You've got a chemical process called pyrolysis.
What is it called?
Pyrolysis. P-Y-R-O-L-Y-O. Pyrolysis. So pyrolysis is breaking chemical bonds because of heat. Not because of oxygen and combustion, but just heat. You can make charcoal. In fact, the little 20-minute thing I mentioned, he put it in a barbecue, so the propane was burning outside. So if you apply heat from the outside, you get the same result. Doing it this way, we are applying the heat sort of from the inside because we're sacrificing some of our products, some of our wood, in order to make the charcoal. Eventually, they figured out if we build a kiln, we build, a brick or stone airtight structure, shove a bunch of wood in there, and apply heat from the outside, whether it's burning coal or wood on the outside or even propane, whatever, you can make large quantities of charcoal, and it's more efficient. You're not sacrificing the wood that you want to become charcoal. You're also able to capture the chemicals. So there's a lot of acetic acid, turpentine, pitch, all the stuff in the tree that is not carbon. We're trying to get rid of all of that stuff, but it has value. If we could capture it, we could do things with it. And it is said that prior to about World War II, before the hydrocarbon industry, before we used propane and other things out of the ground, the chemical industry ran on wood. Charcoal was a byproduct at that point. So after the old iron industry shifted over to using coke and anthracite, by the 1900s, very early 1900s, if you're making charcoal, that's incidental. You're usually trying to capture the chemicals as a feedstock for modern chemical industry. So not so good, but it gives an idea here. So you've got wood, you've got leaves, and then you've got some dirt. Some dirt.
What kind of uses was the charcoal?
Well, you can do a lot of things with charcoal. You can grind it up and make pigments. You can take the charcoal and make toothpaste out of it. You can add it to things. It, of course, is used in gunpowder. They use particular kinds of wood, for example, willow twigs, to make the charcoal for gunpowder. No one really knows what the differences are. For this process, for making fuel for our iron furnace, we prefer hardwoods, things like oak, back when they had chestnut. Those kinds of woods result in charcoal that is physically strong. Now, if you've seen the furnace over in the center of the state park here, that 33-foot tall pyramid is where the iron ore and limestone and charcoal are stacked up. There's a diagram in our little museum right over there. If your charcoal is made with soft wood, it is less strong, and after we've got layer upon layer upon layer, stretching up 20, 30 feet more, it starts to crush. And so there's a natural limit on how tall you can make a charcoal-fired iron furnace. A blast furnace that is instead fueled with coke or anthracite has physical strength. That's how you get a modern furnace, might be 100, 150, even more than that, feet tall, right? Now that it's 1 o'clock, we're going to fire the pit in a moment. That stack of weight. Okay. So I've got a kind of demonstration over there, but basically we have wood in a kind of chimney to let the fire in, and then the stacks of these bigger pieces of wood around it to make the shape that you see. So this process is called firing the pit. So we're going to have the junior member of our team, who's our first time doing this, and she's got a shovel full. Go for it. Go for it. Dump it in. We're going to need several. We're going to do a whole bunch more.
Whole bunch more.
So some of those hot coals will fall down between the little scraps of wood we put all through that vertical chimney. And as Haley adds more and more, it's going to start to catch fire. We're going to give it a few minutes and make sure that we've got a good fire started. I would add at least a couple more.
Go get another?
Yeah, that's good. And once we're sure that it's going, we're going to put those flat pieces of wood over here that Steph is holding. Those are called bridges. They just kind of bridge the top. And those are basically to help trap air, and we're going to cover the top with dirt and leaves, so we're trapping the space there. We're not going to leave this open because we're not trying to let smoke out so much as just get the fire in. So we'll cover it dirt and leaves. When they did this historically and they had one of these 10 or 12 footers, stacked wood that high, they might have 2 feet of dirt and leaves on top of their bridging at the very top. So they would have a really thick layer on top. So let's...
How do they get the coals all the way up that hill?
Great question. How do they get the coals all the way up to the top? They had really crude ladders. And in North America, what I've seen in Eastern North America, they basically had a log with really rough steps cut into it. It was very hard, and you're going 12 feet up in the air. In fact, we have a picture over here of an old-time collier who has gotten on top of this 12 feet up in the air. And he is standing on top, pushing down any hollow spots. We have to do that all through the process. And as he does that, we call it tending the pit. When he's tending the pit, if he falls through, the center of this thing could reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit. So he's got his shovel sideways as a self-rescue tool. And on the table in my little museum over there, I have an article from Connecticut about a collier. It's actually the son, a 10-year-old son, fell in one of these and was burned to death, basically. So this was dangerous work. We're not quite that crazy. We're not doing this as work. So we are standing on the ground where it's safe, and we're able to do the whole process without climbing up on ladders. So this is really great. We've got some ignition, but we're going to give it a few minutes, I think. I want to make sure it's really going.
Yeah. Yeah, because if it doesn't light, that's going to be a real burn.
Yeah, that's a very slow process if it doesn't light. Now, as this continues, after we cover the top, we end up with a ring of smoke. It's more than a ring, it's the whole outside, and it's smoking here, and then you come back a few hours later, and it's smoking down to there, all around. The smoke is just seeping out through the dirt and leaves. As that gets towards the bottom, we call that coming to foot. When that smoke is coming all the way at the bottom and the whole thing is sweeping just a little bit of smoke all the way around, that's a sign that the whole thing is going and we might be approaching completed. So we're going to watch. By tomorrow morning, we hope to see it almost coming to foot. Otherwise, we're in trouble. We're going to rake this apart, called raking the pit, pull it open, and hopefully find fresh charcoal inside in about 24 hours. So our rake out is 1 o'clock tomorrow. Sometimes we haven't quite finished making charcoal, so we have pieces that are half wood, half charcoal. Incomplete, that's not great. That's called a brand. Last year we made a lot of brands. And a good year, we have very few brands. If we had more time, if we saw that some of the wood was not completed yet, we could just wait another day or two. That's how they probably did it, 100, 200 years ago. You would just give it a little extra time. Because it's a 2-day festival and we want to go home eventually, we just accept whatever we have accomplished. That's good. Now we're getting some ignition. That's what we want to see. So they're seeing, it's around the back, but they're seeing a spot where smoke is leaking out. Their dirt and leaves is not thick enough. If we're seeing smoke coming out towards the bottom now, we have to fix that. That's great. Now we're getting some combustion. So do you think...
I think we're there.
I think we're there. So
Bridget?
They're going to put the bridging on. We've got a couple pieces of flat wood. And again, that's just to block it off without burning ourselves. Okay.
That looks good.
Are you pushed together there? Yeah, I like that.
Is that better?
Yeah. We're going to have to squeeze some dirt in around the top here. Here's where we could maybe use a ladder.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to throw some leaves. So they're leafing the pitch at the top of it, and then we're going to put a bunch of dirt to make a seal at the top. As this cooks, as this process of pyrolysis happens, it's going to shrink. When you come back tomorrow, you'll see it's going to be half as tall. It's really going to shrink down. Paradox is that although we're blocking the oxygen right now, pretty soon we're going to open up vent holes around the bottom to make 6 or 8 holes to let a little more air in because we want to accelerate the process. We're kind of sacrificing some of the raw wood, some of the chemicals coming off the wood to generate the heat. And frankly, for this demonstration, we'd prefer to have more happen quicker. Yeah. So I'm willing to accept a little bit of charcoal to question time versus quantity of charcoal.
Just gotta make sure it's working the versions. Sealing that spot's good.
The other thing you'll see if you come back over the course of the next day, this afternoon, tomorrow, holy smoke. This is not like a regular campfire. I know that smell of smoke is sometimes not pleasant. This is generating chemicals. All the things that make up a tree that are not carbon is what we're getting rid of.
Yeah,
so
turn it.
A lot of tar,
Got wood exposed.
acetic acid, all sorts of chemicals that actually are useful for chemical industry feedstock, but we're getting rid of them. So the smoke will turn color. And what we like to see, particularly kind of steel gray sort of a color. We may get to a point early on where there's a kind of yellow tinge or some chemicals burning off. When we see that gray color, it's darker than what you see now. That's a good sign. And so if you were to capture that smoke, you could obviously do other things with it. And they got to the point where they said, hey, instead of doing it this way out in the woods, let's build a kiln. Let's build some brick or stone structures surrounding it. Burn the wood. Maybe we'll use external heat to get the chemical process started, the pyrolysis. Capture the chemicals and use them. And it's almost a incidental byproduct that we make charcoal. So there was a point where the charcoal was less important than the chemicals. That really continued up through the 1920s and almost up to World War II. That you were using wood that's exposed to the rain and the snow, but it is starting to dry a little bit. It's certainly not dry the way you'd want for firewood. It's certainly not dry enough to make furniture or something. So, yeah, the natural way of doing this, the way they actually did it, as a practical matter, the volumes of wood and kiln grind this is really good. What we're seeing, again, is not so much cords. That's how they were paid. The wood cutters and wood choppers were paid by the cord. Material 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot, the burning. Our wood here is a little bit drier than that. We have had it in our tarp, and we cut it last year, so it's hopefully going to help us because we don't have to drive off as much water vapor. Again, you got to remember the industrial quantities here.
So if you use wet wood, it just takes longer?
It takes longer, and it's harder to get it up to temperature. Sure. Nobody knows what an acre is anymore. So this whole area here is a bit over 3, maybe 3.5 acres. Okay? So imagine about double that is being cut every week across what's now the Michaud State Park. Most of the forest lands around you that are now state forests were originally owned by the Iron Company for the express purpose of doing this. At the end, our furnace here owned 27,000 acres of land, of which about 17,000 acres almost was sold to the Pennsylvania state government in 1913 and became eventually the upper part of the Michaud State Park. So we've got multiple furnaces along the South Mountain chain. Each one of them owned acreage. This particular furnace was one of the more successful for many reasons, but one reason is they bought land all the time. They said no iron master would ever admit to having enough cars. They would always look to purchase more. But that gave them a steady supply over decades.
So it can smoke as long as it's coming out that
Yes, and you see as the wind has died down a bit, you see how it's coming out a little bit slow around? That's what's going to happen all the way gradually, all the way down. We're going to open up the charcoal pit. Anyone who's nearby, you might want to see this. It gets real exciting.
We're about to set the whole
Yeah, we're about to set the park on fire. Come watch.
Don't tell Smokey. He's wandering around, I heard.
Yeah, which way is the wind blowing?
It's going right towards us.
Now, just those of you who are sitting down, be ready, because depending on the wind, we're going to be generating. You might all of a sudden wish you were moving a little this way or that way. You'll be okay there, except unless a big cloud of stuff comes to you.
Close your eyes and stop breathing.
For 15, 20 minutes. Okay, so where are we all at?
Okay, rakers.
All right. All right, guys, we're ready to go? All right, so we're going to rake the pit. Imagine doing this in a much, much larger pit. All right, let's pull some dirt.
I see charcoal. Yay! It's not just ash.
Wow, look how hot that's going to catch fire in a few moments.
Oh, I can feel it over here.
The inside of one of these pits, a big one might hit 800 or even 1,000 Fahrenheit. Ours is probably on the low end of that because it's not so large.
When you see charcoal, you can pull it toward free or...
Okay, we got good charcoal.
We have good charcoal. We do have good charcoal.
All right, so I'm going to start pulling charcoal out here.
Got it. Good char leaves, too.
And if you see fire, yell fire. So we can come over and put it out.
This is a situation where you can yell fire in the crowd.
There you go.
I think we did a good job, guys.
Looking like it's pretty well smoked.
We look like we actually made a good quantity. I love it.
Take that, Brett.
No, stop, because he needs to come back next year. You can't tell him he's out of it.
Historically, they would cut the wood in the winter. It would sit uncovered in 4x4 by 8 ricks for, maybe 4 months, 6 months. And then in the spring and summer, the colliers, what we're doing, would turn it into charcoal. So it was not nearly as dry as you might get, at the hardware store or make furniture with.
Well, maybe it's just
Pick that apart. Yeah.
About as far as I want to go. So, yeah. I am not seeing flames. How's it look on that side?
I haven't really seen any flame.
I'm okay. No, I'm good.
We're still trying to dig our way into the dirt.
Started at the base.
Yeah, well, we put a lot on that side,
We
as you
started
know.
at the top. We laid the center as a hollow chimney. We packed full of scrap and then throw it down
There's
the
some
hole.
photos and I'll put a model over to the side there.
Okay,
Whoop.
Oh, look at those huge pieces.
It's getting really hot. It's a little hard to even.
Start pulling trucks up here.
you're in the port side.
This is the moment of truth. Until we do this, we don't know for sure how well we've accomplished our goal. If anyone gets good pictures or video, please send it on to Facebook. We'll do a post about all of this in the coming days. I'm always looking for good pictures to rake out. What is that?
Because we're always too busy to take
Yeah, we're not stopping to take our own pictures here.
You're not going to stop and take a selfie?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Fire selfie.
Now we can go have a spark.
Oh man, that's hot.
It is.
Woo! Woo! I gotta get out of there.
Look at that, though.
Really cold ears.
Come on, look at that gorgeous shot.
We did good, guys. Someone get a picture of that.
I haven't seen a
That is beautiful.
We typically make 250 to 300 pounds. We're starting with about a third of a cord of wood, maybe more. It's mostly red oak that came down during storms, or that or that the park had to take down for safety. So it's a good source of hardwood charcoal for the furnace. And Our best year ever was 315 pounds.
Just bring it out as far as
Well, it's a 24-hour process. So we're only doing this once, but it takes time.
We're gonna have a good score this year.
Who knows what the actual, we're going to bag it up in a few days once it's cool. We do sell it. We're pretty much sold out already. Pre-orders.
Fire.
That's the first flame thus far.
Money from this goes back to the park.
Yep, every dollar we raise here, whether it's this or from the festival itself or from merchandise sales, everything stays at the park. Friends of Pine Grove Furnace is a chapter. The Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation. So we're not doing this for our own profit. I'll tell you that.
I didn't think you were. I just going back to this like that.
Yeah, if we don't make enough charcoal, we're not
Yeah,
gonna be
all
able to
the money that we raise in the park stays with the park.
And that's cool. Like I like
Fire.
fire over there.
use the resources.
If we don't make enough charcoal, we don't get eco-certificate.
Reinvest.
Okay, I see it.
Now that rake, where was that rake tracked?
So this is a modern reproduction. It's not necessarily the most accurate. It's not bad. The old-time colliers, the old guys, would say that using wooden teeth was better. Oh man, that's hot.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Keep intending to make everybody wooden rakes and just haven't gotten around
Well,
to it.
now we know that they did use metal teeth because you'll find them at the charcoal hearths across the forest. But this is probably better for the charcoal. But in reality, they would use metal, and then they'd break off, and we find them 100, 200 years later.
Thank you.
In case you're wondering, we are inhaling a decent amount of dust.
I've been holding my breath the whole time.
You've been talking the whole time. You haven't taken a breath yet.
There you go.
Do this every day for a while to get the black one. Woo!
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get gray lung. It's considerably less deadly.
And hitting like white peas,
So
they're hot.
it is really hot.
They're really
The inside of this pit, we call it, in a big one, might hit 800 or 1,000 Fahrenheit, which, if you fell in, and this could happen, rarely, but it happens, that could be fatal in an era before burn units. That could kill you a week or two later. So there are accounts. I haven't found any from the Michaux Forest, but this was a dangerous occupation. A big one you couldn't rake it out all at once like we're doing here. They would do segments, kind of like an orange, do part of it, cover it again, do part of it.
Yes.
Can you break this?
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, that's good charcoal in there. Look at
That's
that.
how I know that I did my job is with my boots and my shoes.
I have not seen one brand, guys.
I don't either.
No.
We will see how it looks tomorrow.
I think opening those vents early really did it for us.
Also, the dog kept around the top wall yesterday.
Now, none of this is doing the lawn of Fuller Field any favors.
No. Got you guys doing it this spot.
Yeah, and you can always tell if you come back in the summer, you'll be able to see exactly where we're doing all this.
I think it's like the growth back for it, like 10 years or something like that.
Well, it'll grow back a little, but the grass is terrible. I always feel a little guilty about it.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking like I know when you're digging a fire pit, it takes a while for the
We're
roots and all the stuff. And
we're baking the soil directly underneath our pit, at, hundreds of degrees, and that's not doing the soil any
It's
good.
also the layer of carbon that it lays down. So there's that involved as well. Some of the historic charcoal pits out in the woods, they only use them once. You just go up with a stick, break the ground, and find a layer of carbon. A little bit of fire.
How many of you have gone up the Pole Steeple Trail? A whole lot of people been on the Pole Steeple hiking trail. When you start at the bottom, it's the parking lot there.
The bulk of the theatrics is over now. Now we're going to be looking for little steeple with
You get to a place where it levels off.
If it starts
Everybody
going
stops to
white
catch
or
their
gray,
breath. That's a charcoal hearth.
cool it.
They were doing this on a large scale. That area with
nothing.
the trail going through it. The trail goes right through two other charcoal hearths, and you can see some along the way. That whole hillside had lots of
You see how the
How
charcoal,
many calories a
you
day
can see
do you
it
think
having
these guys
ash build up on it?
Yeah.
That's what we need to quit.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many calories a day do you think the foliar?
It was hard outdoor work.
And that's,
They had good appetites.
that's
They were supplied, so I got those barrels over there as a reminder. They had to be supplied by the Teamsters wagon.
especially climbing uphill too.
Yep, they were walking back and forth all night and all day.
Did you get your shoes? I did. Not on fire yet.
Less fire than some years. That's very interesting.
Okay, you guys are this is animal.
Yeah, sorry. I just watered it.
That's okay. If you guys are wondering how hot the core is, listen.
Big arrow that up the wander.
And that's the ground, not the coal. And this is where it takes you out. You see the little wisps here? That's not smoke, that's steam. Yeah. You gotta watch for the difference. See, this one here has got ash on it. That was a lot, that was a lot less smoky and a lot less flame than normal.
I think we converted early.
Yeah.
And
Less flame means less
We
wood.
converted everything.
I don't see a single brand here. That means we get to go home.
don't pick it up yet.
This just gets me like listen to the ground.
Well, the fact that it's just instantly like,
Yeah, and that's the ground, not the coal.
So that's the product.
I am pleased. We won't know until we bag it all up. We actually do weigh it as we go. We'll see if we broke our record, but however much we produced weight-wise, we certainly were very efficient.
Yeah, this is the best conversion.
That's
How much
really
went up in
interesting,
smoke last night is another question.
which is okay. You know, we're trading.
Yeah.
When we do this demonstration, we have 24 hours. It's a 2-day festival. We started Saturday morning, light it, 1 o'clock, we're firing the pit. We want to pull it apart where people can watch. Plus, we got other things to do with our lives. We're not colliers full time. So, the people who taught us how to do this out of Greenwood Furnace, and they in turn got it out of Hopewell, going all the way back to the iron industry in 1936 demonstration there. They showed us how to do a demonstration that would take about 2 days, 24 hours. The bigger it is, the slower it is. A really big one, at the height of that sapling, might take 2 weeks. We're not staying there for 2 weeks. So we have a problem though, because we want to show this to you around 1 o'clock today.
Because you know when you do a barbecue,
If it's not finished, we still got to pull it apart. And last year was not a great year for us because things didn't go as well. If we had an extra day or two, we could have let it cook more and would have finished. We pulled it apart last year, and a lot of pieces were undone. They were half charcoal, half wood. We call those brands. So you heard us saying, I'm looking at brands over here,
right there,
meaning
that-
that
this
every
house is
piece in
kinda
there
pulled out a little
either disappeared, generating
can-
heat, run away as gas, or converted to charcoal. So we're really proud of ourselves. But if we weren't done, we could have said, hey, this looks like it's not ready, let's give it another day. But that would be Monday and no one's going to be here and we're tired. So we traded perhaps amount of finished charcoal versus time because we opened up vents very aggressively yesterday. So we let more air in to make sure it was burning really hot inside, and that might decrease our total pounds. We'll see. So we bag it up. We have some regular customers who buy it in bulk from us, and we have a few people, including our crew. Some of our crew want it. Bill in the DCNR uniform over there is a blacksmith, and he wants some. And we will also sell 5, 10, 20 pounds to people. I've got a few folks signed up, but I suspect, looking at what we've made, even if this is a good amount, we're probably spoken for already. Some years we have a little left over, these pretty little paper bags, 5 pounds for $3.
That looks pretty good.
If we have any left over, we sell it the following, for 1 year from now. And I'll tell you, every year that we've had leftovers, they sell out very quickly on Saturday during the festival. So that's rake out. When they did this historically, they got filthy dirty. Because remember, they're doing something that's way up in the air and they're raking, and so they would get covered in dust. They said a sign of inexperience, the old colliers would say, was being too clean. They took pride in being sort of rough, dirty mountain men who were doing an important job. And so they might look at us and say, you guys aren't nearly filthy enough, you're a bunch of amateurs, which we are. Wow.
I think there's still coal in this dirt now.
Okay.
Might still be some here. I'm still getting a lot of heat out of it.
Oh yeah, look at that. We're not done yet. So our job for the next few hours is going to be to watch this really closely, because if it gets windy,
Where he just raked out.
it could catch fire. And I'm looking around, and you see how it's a little white on the edge here? That could be a problem.
You can hear the
because
whoosh
if you use
over
charcoal
here.
to cook, you know that when you start lighting it, it turns black to white ash. And I'm seeing some white ash in just a few spots. So we're not going to walk away from this, because we'll burn down the park. And my park manager's over there, and he's not going to be happy if I set the Fuller Field on fire. We try real hard not to do that. Fire chief is watching us. We'll get critique later.
Probably doesn't
We
like
set
me
everything
standing in the
on
middle of
fire.
it.
I hope your soles aren't rubber.
They're good. I'm due for new boots anyway. I get new boots every fall, wear them all through work, and then ruin them here.
Pig iron castings, or else you take it out of the furnace, carry it down to Laurel, which used to be Laurel Forge, and you heat it and hammer it and make wrought iron out of it. This is carbon fuel for furnace that gets up to 3,000 Fahrenheit. You can also use anthracite or bituminous coal made into coke. Those are other carbon fuels. Either way, you want a relatively pure carbon source. Carbon with oxygen blown across it burns hot. Wood will not get hot enough. No matter how dry it is, wood won't burn hot enough to do the smelting process.
I'm not liking the look of that.
Give me a little shot right there. Thank you. Anywhere you see that white color, it could be ash forming. There? Oh, that was more reflection. Okay, we're good.
Starting to hear a lot less hissing.
Yeah, it's starting to cool down a bit. It's a little less intense to be standing in it.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Bad one.
Good job, everyone. I am surprised and pleased, because last year, we had a lot of brands. This year, this came out really well.
We should get a shot of this to show off the rat.
Yeah.
Yes, but we still need him. We don't want him to completely go away.
So, unfortunately, some members of our team are out sick, and the guy who normally is our pit master, who helps direct us to build it, he happens not to be here today. So we're going to show him that we did a good job. I'll send this to him by text. He's at home, a few miles away. Probably he knows we're doing this at 1 o'clock, so he's probably wondering how it's going. And his wife's on.